So before we start our usual announcements, we still don't have our design, but save the date, August 8th, the weekend after Heritage Long Weekend, we'll have our barbecue at the Shriners. So it's a great time there, delicious food, and hope to see everyone there. And also, we've been posting in our WhatsApp group. We'll have our friends from Spiritist end of next month, August 29th and 30th in Campbell. Encourage everyone, if you're interested, to join us. All right.
And the movie night.
And the movie night. Whoa, there's an event before that. July 24. Yeah, we're going to watch Bezerra de Menezes. Is that Bezerra? What's the title?
O Diário do Espírito.
O Diário do Espírito, a Diary of a Spirit. Yeah, so we'll have another movie night here on this Friday, right?
We might have subtitles, Attila.
Yeah.
You're always so dumb.
We have to check on that.
Yeah. All right, movie night and barbecue and Spirit Desire. So those are the 3 upcoming events.
Busy summer.
And this busy summer, yeah. So today I chose the text from our daily bread, from Chico by the Spirit Emmanuel, and one of the characteristics of Emmanuel that talks about discipline. If you are enduring discipline, God is treating you as his children. For what child is not disciplined by his father? It's a letter from Paul to the Hebrews 12:7. Blessed is the spirit who understands the Lord's discipline and accepts it without resistance. However, few individuals manage to understand and bear discipline. At times, a generous reprimand from the Most High, the symbol of unbridled love, reaches the human arena as a sacred and silent warning. Nevertheless, on most occasions, the incarnate mind deflects the salvic prod, immerses itself in the night of rebelliousness, disregards valuable possibilities, and labels as an unbearable misfortune the renewing influence meant to brighten the sad, dark road. When confronted with this regenerative phenomenon, many people opt for a spectacular escape from the difficult situation and defensively give in to a slow suicide, abandoning themselves to complete indifference toward their destiny. Those who proceed in such a way cannot be treated as children, since they have isolated themselves and have turned away from divine providence by erecting dense walls of darkness between their own heart and the Father's blessings. Those who understand the discipline of the All-Merciful readjust themselves in a new and promising circle of life. Once the inner storm is overcome, they reevaluate opportunities for learning, serving, and constructing. And based on the bitter experiences of yesterday, they apply the benefits of the higher life with an eye on tomorrow. Do not forget that the evil cannot correct anyone. When the Lord's discipline reaches you on your path, accept it humbly and know that it is a true message from heaven. Beautiful text. So let us pray. Raising our thoughts to God, to Jesus, to our guardian angels, the entire spiritual team of this house, especially the ones that guide us and help us in this activity on a Sunday morning. Let us be grateful. Be grateful for one more morning that we have this opportunity to learn, that we have this opportunity to acquire more knowledge so we can start applying in every aspect of our life. Be grateful for the sun, for the warm weather that help us in this journey of improvement. And let us pray and stay connected to God's wisdom, God's willingness and will, so that each one of us can absorb the information that we are about to learn, and we can apply everyone at our own pace within the possibilities and strength that each one of us have, but that we continue with the hope, faith, and confidence that everything is happening for a reason, and we are all prepared with the seeds of love to continue in this journey of improvement. So beautiful. Okay, so today we're going to talk about habits. What are some of the habits that we've been cultivating in this life, now in this incarnation, and how do they relate to our past lives? What we have been doing and what some of the mental patterns that we have built in ourselves, and how are they aligned? How are they serving us to the pursuit of our moral evolution and to the pursuit of our own happiness? And also, if those habits are not quite well or are not sitting well with us, where do we look? Where do we look to see what habits should we model after? Hint, Jesus, our model and guide. So we'll take a text from the book Thought and Life, chapter 20th, which the title is Habit. And we're going to explore some of the learnings that Emmanuel passes on to us in terms of habit. And I'll try to intertwine with some of the aspects of education, the aspects of our mental house, and even defining what is habit and how are they created and how important it is for us to make changes in those habits that are not quite aligned with the divine laws, or if we feel inside us, in our conscious, that those habits are not producing the fruits or the results that we wish for. A few questions for us to reflect with our own selves. Which habits are we cultivating that assist us in fulfilling the divine laws in the pursuits of happiness? What are the ones that are, I know that I'm getting the results, or I'm feeling accomplished by the habits that I'm pursuing? And which ones need to be revised so we can fulfill the divine laws and continue the pursuit of our happiness? And we're going to take a look at a kind of a concept or a model from one of the spirits called Calgary in the book O Mundo Maior, or The Greater World, that talks about some of the aspirations and how he makes this concept of our mental house. And what are some of the aspirational habits that we want to cultivate so we can change? And what are the habits that we have done? I think we, especially as spiritists, we are harsh to ourselves because we say, yeah, we're here, there's a trial, there's this expiation, I have to go through this. But there's a lot of things that we have been doing right, or we have done right? Because we keep progressing. And there are some habits, there are some behaviors that we cultivate that they're good. We did good in our past life. So how do we carry over those habits? And are we aware of the habits that are on the right track? So I think it's an invitation for balance. The ones that we need to change and the ones that we keep doing because they are right. So what ideals or goals am I invited to pursue so that I can work on developing them with the effort and willingness to make them a habit? But as I was studying for this, I was watching a few lectures, and there's an important connection that is drawn by Kardec in his comments on question 685 that I'm going to read, that relates habit and the importance of education. There's no secret for us in Spiritism that it's endless. Education is endless in our journey. There's no end. So yeah, now I have my degree of the same way that I have a degree of an engineer. There's a certificate. Yeah, like 18 months and we're a good spirit. There's no such a thing. And Kardec makes it very clear in his comment where he talks about education. And he starts by making a difference because we have some concepts of education. For example, I go to school and then I take some subjects and then I graduate. So he says that not the intellectual education, but the moral education. Not the moral education through books, but moral education that consists in the art of forming character. Moral education that creates habits, because education is the sum of acquired habits. And I thought it was so simple, but very to the point. And to nowadays, education is very easy, aka ChatGPT, Copilot, and all of that. And I was watching another lecture from Haroldo, and he was saying, it's like you can ask Kardecpedia, or even you can memorize question such and such, question there, or it's here in the Gospel according to Spiritism, or it's in Chico. But this is just memory, right? Decoreba, he says. It's just memory. I say all those words. But how, and this I think was a very important point, how am I using all this intelligence, all this knowledge in my discernment to make decisions? That is the key. That is the educational part that we're all invited to practice. Sometimes we do a little bit better. Sometimes we forget, or even we disregard the information that we have from the Spiritism doctrine or any other information, and we still continue with some bad habits. But this is the key point of education for us, or what we learn from Spiritism. We have to, or we are invited to take that, feel it in our hearts, and live it. How do we live it? Is how we make decisions based on that. Aren't we make decisions every single second of our lives incarnated here, right? Even if I make no decision, that's a decision. I decided to not do nothing, right? Or not to do nothing. And that, I think everything that we acquire, if we're applying that information or that knowledge into our habits, that is the crux. That is kind of the key aspect of our lives as we change those habits based on what the divine laws is saying and how Spiritism uncover some or remove the veil of our ignorance or help us understand better the divine laws from Jesus and how we're making that into practice. And those habits, the sum of acquired habits, span widely, right? Is a habit of patience. I think patience is a virtue that is in everyone's contract. It's a blank one. Like everyone coming to Earth, you've got to practice, right? And it's kind of testing us. And there's an opportunity for us to develop the habit of patience every single time of our lives.
I think it kind of comes together with resignation as well.
Yeah.
Patience and resignation.
Yeah. Yes. Because especially the biggest way for us to evolve is in society. And man, patience with our neighbors and patience with us, right? Our neighbors having patience with us and that indulgence of understanding that we're all imperfect, right? And developing that and applying kind of really not just memorizing what is charity defined by Jesus, benevolence, indulgence, and forgiveness. That's easy for me to say. Yeah, it's easy. It's a definition. But how do I practice that in every single instance of our lives? And Jesus said that. If you look at in the Gospel according to Spiritism, Jesus said that love one another. That's the first sort of precept or commandment. What does he say after?
Does it say love God first and then love one another?
Yeah. Love God first, love one another, and then
The same way that you love yourself.
but then
I don't-
educate yourself. Educate yourself. I like to make a joke like I wish I have a spiritual retirement that I would just work in my virtues until 55 or 60 and then I can enjoy. That will not be the case, not even in this life or the many other lives that we will have, because we will need to educate ourselves, because that education is what will transform, and that's how he says here, our character. It's our immortal spirit, how we will navigate from that scala spirita, or the evolution of the spirits, from being imperfect to being good until I become a pure spirit. Because that is the only determinism of our doctrine. Everyone will get there. Everyone. With no exception. So this education, it's always molding and shaping and transforming ourselves. Not Luis incarnated here on this earth, but transforming my spirit, the immortal spirit that I am, I will incarnate other lives in other planets or here, but will stay in that purpose. What is habit? So Emmanuel defines it for us. Habit is the accumulation of mental reflexes whose function is to induce routine. So it's interesting here that Emmanuel says that is the accumulation of mental reflexes. What does he mean by that? It's because our habits in our behavior or in our minds? Minds. Behavior is it's a consequence. It's everything that I thought. It's already
You take action.
exactly. And this book was written in 1950s, right? So Emmanuel was kind of far advanced in thinking about the way that we cultivate our habits. Everything starts in our mind. That's why this book is called Pensamento e Vida, Thought and Life, because everything starts in our minds, including our habits. And those mental reflexes, most of the time, they are very solid. Sometimes the way that we act now, they are very solid because it's a pathway that I created in my mind as a spirit, not my mind as incarnated here. I have been doing certain things for so many incarnations, right? There's why sometimes maybe I may lose. There's habits of violence or habits of impatience. So many things. Every time that I'm presented with that situation, it's kind of a Google. My mind says, "Oh, how do I react in this situation? Or how have I been reacting?" Bam, that's how I'm going to react. So it's important that we stay aware of, if I'm losing, or if someone is being violent, or no patience, or condemnation, or lack of compassion, it's a call to pause and think about why am I reacting that way, and what do I need to do to transform that? That is kind of the big invitation as we're incarnated here to make that change. Because if I decide not to be aware and stop and reflect, I will continue do the same. And I might be missing the opportunity of this life to make that change. Can I do that? Sure. Yeah, we have the free will. But I think the invitation that we make that call. We pause and think and look inside. The only way is looking inside. It's that self-discovery that Spiritism so much encourages, because you or us will not know what to change, what habits should we change, if we don't take a step to recognize. The first step is awareness and see, okay, this is working. Good, continue. This is not working. All right, let's make a change.
If I may say, I like that approach by St. Augustine Hypo, when he says that before we go to bed, we should review our daily activities and say, well, did I hurt somebody today?
Yeah.
What did I do that could have been better?
Yeah, exactly.
And what were the good things that I did?
Yeah.
And if we realize that few things were not quite right, I mean, it's the time for us to
change
and revise and improve and enhance.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to foster our efforts towards this outcome, and particularly when we become spiritists, because then we have this responsibility. Now we not responsibility, we become accountable for developing and enhancing and practicing good thoughts and putting away all this, practicing these virtues.
Yes.
Such as forgiveness, love, and so on and so forth.
So many. There's no shortage of virtues for us to choose and develop. Yeah, Santo Agostinho, question 919 from the Spirit's book. It's a great, simple. Before going to bed, let's put our heads in the pillow and think. Yeah. Do a self-assessment. Doesn't cost anything. Just the time and the effort and the willingness. Now, thank you for saying willingness. It makes way more sense. And then the willingness. Again, right? Willingness, second chapter of this book. Willingness is the key aspect of our minds to make the change. If we are not willing to, it won't happen. So here is just reaffirming that we inherit thousands of years of repeated experiences, each one similar to the other. Up to now, we have been like a boat carried away by a river of habits to which we have offered no resistance. Interesting. He says that we offered no resistance. Why do we think so? Why we sometimes we know that habit is not doing what I wanted to do, but at the same time, let the boat flow through the river. Why that?
Well, because if we really offered resistance, we wouldn't have the habit in the first place anymore. We would have changed it.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it's just easier to go with what we've become used to doing.
Yeah. And if we put in the context of the world that we're living in, there's a lot of distraction, right? There's a lot of things very enticing, very cool that they're calling and saying, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. There is social media painting a great picture of a life to be living in. So there's a lot of circumstantial things from the material world that really we kind of like, yeah, I'm going with that boat. I'm going to spend more effort and my willingness to do that thing, right? So there's a good call for us. I'm not saying that we should not work or dedicate some time and effort onto the material things that are required for us. But again, it's about the life or the balance that we choose, things that will carry over beyond the life that we are living here, and that we take control. Because if we decided to allow the circumstantial, the things of the world, who is in control of my life? Me?
No.
The world.
The world, right? It's others. Like I don't have my willingness towards myself. I only go with the flow. And then we go in a rabbit hole of even comparison, and that's not a good path for us to be drawn up into.
So vigilance is the key.
Yeah. Vigilance and pray. Oh, it's
And pray.
not almost 24/7, 365.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because sometimes we don't even notice. We get into automatic. And yeah, let's keep doing this, right?
Invitation for discernment, right?
Discernment. Yeah, discernment and willingness and common sense. I think we're lacking, even the Spiritist movement, common sense on what is that we're invited to do. What is that Kardec is telling us, right? And how do we, and we have this conversation on Wednesday, how are we interpreting Kardec? How are we really, sometimes we get into that, Kardec, old news. Kardec is old news. 1850s. It was too old. Now the world is different. Man, I think my personal opinion, if we're able to understand even 2% of the way that Kardec thinks, we would be way better, right? So there is this lack of common sense and discernment, because Kardec is brilliant and how the questions that he asked, and it's important for us to use our discernment to interpret it that right as well. You can say something.
Now, what the word resistant made me remember when I read from a Buddhist monk, I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh, I don't know if I say it correctly, and I think this is more like a Buddhist teaching, but it's like we sometimes stay on that state of suffering or accommodation with circumstances that are not good because it's known to us. Change can cause so much discomfort, and of course it requires applying ourselves, that sometimes we stay the way we are, consciously or not, because in a sense it's easier.
Yep.
Right? Like the suffering, it's something you know. It's horrible, but you know. The being afraid of what could be can be a deterrent. Maybe that's why sometimes we resist to some changes.
Right.
But also there's a lot of distractions
There's
everywhere to help us not think about what we need to think about.
What is required to change a habit?
Well, determination, as our sister pointed out, resignation is very important. Sometimes, we realize that we're doing something wrong. We are used to following that pathway, and I say, hey, wait a minute, it's time to review it and make some changes. It is daunting. It is a challenge, and prayer plays a very important role.
Effort, no?
Exactly.
Prayer,
Two things:
vigilance,
effort, willingness, effort, and what I read in the beginning that Emmanuel keeps hammering.
patience.
No,
Dedication.
discipline.
Discipline.
Discipline. First, you start with discipline, then discipline, then discipline, and then a little bit more discipline.
All right. Yeah.
Because
That's right.
as you said, there are some habits that fulfills with our temptations, fulfills us. So we have very easy. They're secondary gains, what we call, right? In order to make that change, it's required the effort, and we can take even easy, maybe I want to improve my health and I need to go to the gym. I go the first day, oh my God, I'm tired. And then I don't go anymore. Because, oh, it's too hard, my body is aching. Or if it's nutrition, I'm going to make better nutrition. I'm not going to eat sugar anymore. Oh, that cake. So I resist the first day. The second,
Oh, the
no,
little
it's too
meringue outside
delicious,
today.
right? And then, but sometimes, and I can establish a parallel, when we are about to incarnate, we say there, it's like, we are going to figure this, I'm going to figure this out, this incarnation. I'm very ambitious, I'm very positive. And then comes here, the challenges come, and then it's like, oh, this is a little bit hard. And the same thing, oh, I ate sugar, and I didn't want it to. But it's too hard, I give up. But I don't try it again. Maybe at that week I didn't eat sugar, then I eat it again. Then I stay 2 weeks without eating sugar. It's about that discipline and trying, bit by bit. And even here, we try to figure out, or I'm going to be patient in a year. It's not, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, it's not exactly, because there will be a lot of instances that I'm going to lose patience, and then I have to pick up myself and do it again. But there is this challenge, which is part of the school that we are in, that sometimes we get into despair or we get some discouragement. But that is, again, an invitation for us to keep going. Maybe if I decided, because I want to go to the gym every single day, maybe I go 1 day. Then I keep going 1 day, and then I go 2 days. Like, we gotta make some compromises and realize what our capabilities are. So we don't get, and if you get frustrated, let's try again.
Perhaps the word, discipline has been a little bit worn out these days. I would like to argue about it. I think we should exercise awareness first and foremost. Attila, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't you think when you say to someone, requires discipline, it's a little bit, goes way over our heads. It's being worn out in a way. It requires, some more substance to it. Just by saying discipline, I don't know. It doesn't cause the same impact as it used to.
I encourage, you had a, is that discipline you had a talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. I encourage you to take a look at, Victor talked about discipline, and he brought a different take, not a different, but clarified a little bit. Because sometimes discipline is too harsh, and we stay too, I think you use a chain as an image, but actually discipline really freed us up, because we take control of our own selves and our own effort, and we know the results that we're going to get.
Yeah, if we see discipline as something we're imposing
Imposed to ourselves, yeah.
And they can feel like, okay, now I'm forced to do something. But in my opinion, it comes from like the willingness.
Willingness?
Sorry, I know.
To like
Hated a problem.
I'm aware what it's important for me, and therefore I'll put those efforts and I'll do the repetitions needed or whatever it is. So that's the way I see discipline. Not that I can do it, but
I think there's a.
for some things.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's not about the word itself, in my opinion. It's about how it's presented to you. Like, you have to have discipline. It's like you're invited to have discipline. So there's a difference in that sense as well. Because as we know, one of the divine laws is about the law of freedom. So it's not we obligating you to have a discipline, but the discipline, the word itself, for me, it's not the problem. The problem is how this is presented.
And how you understand, each one of us understand.
Yeah.
And we start seeing, I'm going to have another slide about discipline, and how we collect the results or reap the results when we understand how are we taking control of our own lives by doing what we think or according to the guidance that we have that produces what we call the happiness when we're following the guidance.
And just to perhaps offer a focus. As I'm sure you just said, there's going to be more to build up on this. Discipline can seemingly have a lot of different meanings. I feel like even in your introduction, you mentioned in the text, harmonization text, discipline of God. So discipline can come from a lot of different aspects. But I think what Victor in his earlier talk and what you're referencing is the aspects of discipline that is salient here is more, in English you would say, commitment. And so having a commitment to return, a commitment to engage, and discipline covers that as well. It's just the way you look at it. But I can appreciate how sometimes the wideness of the term can help to be focused by, looking at it from a certainly complementary term. And so the aspects of it, I get commitment is really maybe the part of discipline that keeps you to change a habit.
Commitment, a component of that.
Exactly.
Of that discipline.
It's more like it.
And it's your own choice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You should
Yeah.
have that commitment.
Very good.
And I was watching another thing, and there was a lecture that talks. I came across this question about the purpose of the spirit incarnation, and I thought that it was very kind of helped me clarify if we're talking about education and how we build our character, how we need to change, what needs to be changed. I think bringing back why are we incarnated here again? I thought that was a big component because the Spirit said that God's imposed incarnation as a tool to reach perfection. One of the tools is as we change all the experiences that we have here, so we can change our habits, we can learn. And he says that for some, it means of making amends. Yeah, I did something that was not quite right. Now I need to change. For others, it might be a mission, but every spirit must experience the difficulties of physical existence to reach perfection. Therein lies their atonement. So every spirit, isn't that beautiful that God gives this opportunity for us to correct the mistakes and correct the habits. The habits that we've been doing as that are not aligned or not producing the results that we want. Now we have here this wonderful opportunity. Some we might change a little bit of habits, others we might not be able to, and we will get another opportunity. Because all the lives that we have, are they disconnected? It's all random. As we reincarnate, is that random? No, it doesn't make sense. So all our lives are connected, aligned. Because then I do my work here, approved in this, reproved or not approved in other things. So I have others. So I can incarnate again and change again. And that will continue for as long as required for us.
Luis, I want to remind, all Brazilians here might have this frame of reference too. So sorry, Attila, bringing back Legião Urbana in a Brazilian song, right? Discipline is freedom. So I love when you go back and you say disciplina é liberdade, and it's not like a prison as we tend to
That's a
think.
very good thing.
So if we go back to the song, it's disciplina é liberdade, compaixão é fortaleza, ter vontade é ter coragem. So I think it summarizes how important it is, the discipline, when you want to change habits or to build a different life.
Exactly.
It all starts with reasoning and with the action.
Understanding, right? Isn't again, education, understanding. If you understand why I have the commitment and I practice that discipline, that gives me accountability and power to decide, okay, this is not working. And I know it's not, why it's not working. And I have the tools to make the changes to make it work.
Yes, but perhaps, discipline without commitment is going to be lost like tears in rain. It needs, an extra input, at least in the English language. just to say discipline is kind of vague.
I think it doesn't last, right? If you don't have.
We
discipline
need
along
commitment.
with commitment, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like when you think about discipline, to me, it entails the commitment
That-
within the
yeah.
word as well. It's just like thinking that your behaviors or your habits, they're not your lord, they don't control you,
Control
but
yourself,
it's the other way around. You're the one that control your habits, and it starts by practicing every day, or changing every day, or setting a time
Yeah.
to do something.
Something, yeah.
And I like the English expression like old habits die hard. Yes, it's true.
That's
The,
true.
the stronger or the oldest it is, the harder it is to change. And then it entails, it needs more discipline and more intention. So discipline to me comes with the intentionality that you put on changing something.
I think we don't need, we might be splitting hairs.
Yes.
It's if you understand what is the purpose, what are we trying to achieve, that is
The most important.
the most important. Yeah. And here I like this passage. He says, Emmanuel says, we aspire for personal improvement. I guess here does anyone here aspire not to improve? I think it's a very fair assumption. This room and the entire world might aspire some sort of improvement, right? And he says, however, in order to achieve it, it's urgent not to forget the discipline that precedes the transformation. It's like an athlete, right?
Say that.
If an athlete wants to play basketball or whatever sport, will he just go there, start playing and doing it and being good? No. There's required commitment, discipline, understanding what are the weaknesses, where I need to improve, where I'm doing good. He needs help from a coach to understand better. And we have all the resources for us to help us understand better where are the areas that I need to practice more, where are the areas that I'm doing good. Because if we don't do that, if we don't do the work, it's about doing the work. It's about practicing for us to make that transformation. Because he says on the Consoler, the popular saying considers that habits make second nature. And we must learn that discipline precedes spontaneity. The same way, will a basketball player just go and do whatever, or a soccer player do all the good things that he does by just going? No. That being like Chico Xavier, like doing all the good, will just that be, oh yeah, Chico woke up and started doing the good? No. There was effort. There was work. There was trial, fail, doing right, doing wrong. This is part of the journey. Because even there is a passage, question 894, that the spirits, Kardec asks, there are persons who do good through the spontaneous impulse without having to struggle with any contrary sentiment. So there are people that they do good, just doing good. There's no.
It's easy.
It's easy. It's easy. Like, it's easy to do good. I do as a second nature. So do they deserve the same merit as those who have to struggle, like myself, against my own nature, and who managed to overcome it?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Because they did good
Because
for a
they
long
did.
time.
So those who do not have to struggle have already made
Struggle,
progress.
yeah.
They have struggled already. The player that didn't know how to kick a ball or to do few things, he struggled before learning how to do that thing. They struggle and triumph in the past. That's why good sentiments cost them no effort and their actions seem to so easy. Doing good has become a habit for them.
It goes back to question 115 from the Spirit's book, that we were all created the same.
Unaware,
Unaware,
ignorant,
yeah.
in the sense that we don't understand or we don't have the knowledge. And some of us decided to create good habits and do the work. Some others decide not to. That's okay. At one point, The conscience will tell that person that is required to make that change. There was one habit that now I'm going to sound as a broken record, but I have to talk because it's important, more for me, but it's the habit of hope. I think nowadays, the world is telling us that we should not have hope because we are done. We're doomed to fail. And I think practicing that optimism, practicing understanding that the world is going through this turbulence for a reason. And if we go again, Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 2, item 5, the point of view, understanding that there is a reason for us to go through all those challenges. But there is a vision or a bigger outcome that is waiting for us. And the reason that we're going through maybe some pains, some challenges, are that educational piece that we're invited to practice, to put some love on top of it instead of anger, instead of rebellion, instead of going against it, and maybe missing an opportunity for us to improve ourselves. And I like how every time that I talk about hope, there's a passage from our beloved Alcione from the book Renounce that she says that living without hope is the worst of all evils. When we are sincerely concerned about spiritual enlightenment, we understand the meaning of all things. When we pause and we understand the situation we are going through, we are able to understand the meaning of that situation and what that situation or experience is trying to tell us that we need to change. And for me, that is a habit of cultivating that hope to understand some of the challenges that we're facing is for our own benefit. And as we read here, is God giving us the tools and mechanisms for us to exercise some of those habits, some of those changes that we are invited to do. And she continues that hope is like the moonlight. And I love this analogy of moonlight because most of the time, hope is key when we are in the darkness. Those challenges, that trouble or that experience that is hard for us. And isn't that beautiful that we have the moonlight helping us there, encouraging us, giving the strength that we have the capabilities to make the change that we are able to make. And she says that faith is the divine clarity of certainty. So hope and faith so much aligned in believing that if we are able to overcome and do our part, the rest will be taken care by God. And having that faith. But the faith that understands our role, not the faith of just talking about the questions of the Spirit's book and just babbling and not understanding what this doctrine is telling us. But understanding there is a bigger reason, a bigger power that is here to help us. That has all the mechanisms from God itself. Jesus is our models and guide, and also our guardian angels that are here to help us to change the habits that we want to change. So hope, I think it's, for me, is a great habit for us to keep practicing. And in the face of adversity or the face of challenge, to really remember about this moonlight as a balm of relief, Alcione mentioned, is that relief that helps us to continue navigating and keep marching forward.
It's actually a really beautiful analogy. And I learned this, I don't even know when, but not a long time ago. Do you know where the light from the moon actually comes from?
The sun?
Yes, it actually comes from the sun. And so it's almost like even in the darkness, the supreme light looks after us.
Yeah.
So in keeping with the beauty of the text, maybe there's much more of a spiritual divine message in that very, very material picture.
Yeah, exactly.
So Emmanuel continues. In general, the human race lives with this visual and recurring cycle of cherished ignorance. That hit me when I cherished ignorance. Sometimes we do cherish. It's like I decide not to ignore whatever I know. That I know this is not the right habit for me to do, but I decided to go against it.
Because it's easier.
Sometimes it's easier, right?
It reflects on this thing like ignorance is a blessing, right?
Yes.
We keep repeating that.
Exactly.
Like, better not to know, so you're happy.
Yeah. And he continues, we seek to deceive ourselves after birth, only to become completely delusioned after death. Thus, we are imprisoned in the confines of an illusion-disillusion syndrome. Century after century, we return to the thread, the same road from where we are expected to go forward. Because we decided, Luis, you're gonna incarnate, you're gonna do this in Brazil, then you're gonna move, then you're gonna marry, and then you're gonna do that, and you're gonna figure out all those challenges that you have. And sometimes I decided not to. And I decided to ignore and decided not to do. And then we go in that vicious cycle, right? And then we disincarnate, like, I said that I was going to do that. And then there's like that, okay, let's do it again. It's not, I think the point here is not to put any fear but just to become aware that sometimes we forget, we decided to forget, and then we go in that cycle of incarnating and kind of playing the same mistakes. And Emmanuel says that it will have all the opportunities to correct. But sometimes pay attention, because if you're doing the wrong thing over and over and over and over, pause, reflect, and assess if you're not being stubborn. You want to do the same way, expecting to have a different result. So that's a call for us. Am I being stubborn in some of the things that I'm trying to change? And I keep doing the same thing, expecting something different.
In English, there's a saying, and I don't even know if it's true, but it's become so common. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And so I think it touches very much what you're saying.
Sometimes we go, right? We say we're going to change this and that, and then we discarnate, we didn't do it. And then we said do it again, I didn't do it. So keeping and being aware of those can help us to be more constructive and to achieve what we want to achieve in the aspect of moral improvement.
And I think the other thing, which is very clearly demonstrated by the bolded words there that you so insightfully drew out, was that earlier slide when it said we all strive for personal improvement. I think that it's possible that's not true if we are so focused on that cherished ignorance.
Yeah.
We can get to a place where we may like to think that we want to, but in our hearts we don't really want to.
Yeah.
We'd rather just not think about it and then have that, or not think about the uncomfortable end of life where we're like, we were all wrong. But we'll sit ourselves in there and spend an entire life saying maybe that we want to improve, but not really wanting to.
And doesn't that go against the purpose of our incarnation?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very clear there. And the incarnation has all the opportunities to change our habits. And it's up to us to take those opportunities and do something without it. When we're doing something, and like that, Emmanuel says, however, we should not by any means disregard a constructive routine. Through it, people involve in space and time to attain the resources and dignify their lives. So it's again that constructive doing small beats. If we can change the whole, challenge in the work, family, whatever, try with small pieces. Because and Joanna says that in some of I can't remember the books. as you start, it's like you keep building. It's like the muscles. You start a little bit small, then oh yeah, now I know how to do with this, and then expand a little bit, and then expand a little bit, and that is that discipline and commitment to keep trying, even when we fall. And I think parenthood is a great experience for that, right? When you like lost your temper and you yell and scream to your kids, and then you think like, oh, that was not what I wanted or what I was supposed to do. But okay, the kids will be there for until 18 years old. They move up. But they will be there, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But again, there will be several other opportunities to redo that task or that challenge, so we can learn. Maybe I yell a yes, or I take some deep breath. There's like lots of opportunities for us to build a different habit in how we are parents with the challenges that the kids might present to us.
Luis, I get the impression that sometimes as we see the big picture and we know what we need to do, we think, oh, tomorrow I need to apply everything. And that's not how it works, because life is a journey. It goes up and down and curves. So we just need to learn how to navigate through it. Not like, okay, from now on, I'm like this perfect person. You wouldn't be here. So
Like I'm gonna change tomorrow. That's it.
So we
Patience,
got
50% more
like-
patience tomorrow.
Yeah,
And we have our eternal life.
exactly.
This life and others to keep building. That's the secret. It's like keep building up.
Yeah. And make pieces with that.
Yeah.
Like when you make a mistake, like you just learn through
Learn.
it.
Yeah.
And you say sorry or you correct
Yeah.
whatever you need, and then you keep going. I think like that's sometimes we punish ourselves too
Yes.
much
That's-
because we knew what
Yeah.
to do and we did the opposite. So
It's a good call for compassion to ourselves.
compassion, yeah.
It's like, okay, made a mistake. All right. Next day, oh, made a mistake again. I did the
You
same
keep-
thing.
you
Okay,
never- yeah, you
let's
keep up,
let's not be complacent,
Complacent.
complacent, but being aware. Okay,
Yeah.
I did this. Okay, that triggered me.
Yeah.
All right, how can I work on that trigger?
And being
There's some-
aware
and
is
yeah,
so it's huge.
It's the
because
first
sometimes-
step. If you're not aware, how do you know what
Yeah.
needs to be changed?
Yeah, exactly.
And also punish yourself doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Yeah.
What?
No.
The situation is already there.
Yeah.
It's not. It won't change. That's
Yeah,
it.
let's
Yeah,
do the
yeah.
good.
Let's do the good.
Yeah, self-love and humility play a big
A
role
big
in
role.
that change in
Yeah.
constructing habits. So to your example about the gym, if you see someone first day of the gym trying to run 5 kilometers on the treadmill, you're gonna think they're crazy.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people do that
Yeah.
because sometimes they feel so embarrassed of not being able to run even like half a kilometer that they just go and build something beyond themselves. Or they say, okay, I'm gonna join the gym. I'm gonna go 5 days a week starting next week. That's not gonna fly. Sorry, you're gonna get yourself hurt. It's not gonna work. So love yourself a little bit, and then think that it's fine for you to go once a week. Maybe start it once a week, and also start with something like it's a feasible goal. Otherwise, you're being too harsh on yourself or too proud. So like those play a big role in constructing healthy habits. Otherwise, it's
And we are not in a competition,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We're not. Someone is running 10K. I can barely run a meter.
I mean,
But that's fine. I have other skills. I have other talents. Right?
Also comes the power of yet, right?
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The power of
Not
yes is
yet.
very powerful.
a good way is also like ask if you see that person running 10K, just ask them like, how was your first week? Did you start running
Terrible.
10K?
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll say like, man, I used to be so much overweight.
Yeah.
I started running because I was overweight and I wanted to be healthy. And I wasn't able to run half a kilometer. So like ask them about where they started, not where they are. Because otherwise you're gonna hurt
It's
yourself.
a great analogy for us.
Because at the end of the day, it's a journey, but we see people in spots and we don't see the journey. We
Yeah.
see our own,
Yeah.
right? And then we lose track. We compare positions to
Yeah.
a journey, and
Yeah.
this is not really fair. I remember, I think it was Haroldo that used a little story in one of, I think I heard more than one speech actually, that he speaks about a dog that is sitting on a bed full of nails. And that the dog is whining and complaining, and then he goes the guy goes into a grocery store or something and say, why is the dog there? Why is it whining? Or because it hurts enough to complain, but it doesn't hurt enough for him
To
to
move to, yeah.
So how many of us do that in our lives,
Yeah.
right? Like we say, yeah, I should.
Yeah.
It is a
Should,
judgment
would, yeah.
that we self-inflict. I should be doing this. I should have done that.
Yeah.
But then we are still in the preparation or in the complaint stage, but not necessarily in the action
Yeah.
stage. So sometimes that's why lots of us we change through anger
Yeah.
Luis,
And
and not through sweat.
yeah, I know we're running out of time, but it's also makes me feel like at some point we also need to take ownership and accountability, right? Like I know we need to love ourselves and be patient and whatever, but we cannot be this eternal excuse of like it's okay ever.
Yeah.
Always, right? At some point we need to start doing something.
Yeah, yeah.
Hashtag.
And if it's a little amount of
Yeah.
something, you gotta, yeah, there's, because there's a law of cause and effect that is not here to punish us.
Yeah.
If we don't do it, there will be an effect. If we do it, there's also be an effect. Yeah, that's why I like to say, I like Emmanuel, let's not be stubborn. If you're doing something that is not doing good, and keep doing that thing, at some point, accountability will
The pain
kick us.
comes, right?
Yeah, it will come. I want to end with Jesus' example, and end with that humility and simplicity. So the text says, gives the example what Jesus did in terms of his habits. So against the habit of constant condemnation, and that kind of when I read that, it's like, oh my God, yeah, I do. Sometimes I do have a habit of condemning. It's so easy to judge, right? But he offers the practice of forgiveness. Against the tradition of racial division, he establishes the foundation of true brotherhood. And I personally put fraternity as a different term to complement. Against surrender to sadness and discouragement in times of trial. Don't we all sometimes go there? He brings the promise of eternal blessedness to those who know how to wait and to the righteous who know how to endure suffering. I think that's a great way of translating to hope. And he ends, Jesus' apostleship becomes a resplendent set of reflections aimed at the redemption of the human way. He taught the virtue of simplicity. It's simple. We don't need to look at the 10K, 50K, or it's just we start with our own capabilities. When he began his pilgrimage amongst humanity that originated in the manger, his death on the cross taught us serenity, patience, and belief in the resurrection in eternal life. So again, that humility to understand what I need to change, and also the humility to look into ourselves. That is a first act, because most likely we will see some dark spots. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We would be in a better place. And the humility and the courage to do that, it's a key component. So I think I want to leave with the thought of encouraging ourselves to take a look. What are the habits that we need to change, and how we can look at Jesus to make those changes and not to get into despair, and to practice our commitment, discipline, motivation, what have you, to make that change. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you.
Oh, 7 minutes. All right. So let us pray. Connected we are to to God, Jesus, our Master, our guardian angels. Be grateful once again for this opportunity that we had to learn about this important component of our incarnation here, which is changing our habits. Let us be encouraged to always look at our model and guide, Jesus, when assessing our habits and making the changes. Let us be encouraged to always rely and trust into God, Jesus, our guardian angels, to be aware or become aware of the changes in habits that we're invited and take advantage or take this incarnation as this great opportunity for us to make the amends and make the changes that we're invited to do so we can become a little bit better immortal spirits. So let's pray that we have a rest of a blessed Sunday, a rest of a blessed week, full of opportunities, encouragement, commitment, motivation, discipline, to make those changes and transform ourselves through our education and the change of our habits. So be it. Amen.